Right,
Good morning.
here we go. The second morning VC video session sharing. It's a very nice Sunday morning here in Kent. Having a great summer in the UK. There's a lot of Olympic action going on. And yeah, we are again sober,
Yeah,
focused.
the day after.
The day after. We're listening to something which you probably can't hear, but I'm sure we're not going to get any strange YouTube copyright things. It's a very nicely packaged CD called Cora San Time Court Mirage. Again, one of these things I'm not quite sure how I came to buy this, but it's kind of got a very sort of ambient sort of Indian drone thing going on. Very peaceful, relaxing, good for morning Tai Chi practice. Anyway, so it's the Olympics, I'm sure you all know that, and there's obviously a lot of...
We haven't got an Olympic... Well, we've got a bit of an Olympic theme, haven't we?
Tiny
Yeah,
little
yeah.
thing, a very small Olympic thing. The first album that we listened to, the first track, was off the Wayne Shorter album Supernova. Very nice Japanese issue here. And we listened to the track called Tinge, which is spelt Dindi but pronounced Gingy. A Hobim track with some very nice vocals by Maria Booker and some great percussion from Aeto, and a stunning band: Wayne Shorter, John McLaughlin, Sonny Sharrock, Miroslav Vitus, Jack DeJohnette, Chick Corea. Very groundbreaking album, and sort of like a kind of Brazilian free jazz track in a way, but with a song in it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it might have been Roger Coleman who showed this a while back. Anyway, it was a great album. Sounded good.
But there's late Wayne Shorter's are great actually on Blue Note. Odyssey of Iska is really good as well. So I stayed with Wayne as he was in the box and played track Infidizal, what I think is probably my favourite Blue Note album actually, which is Speak No Evil, which was earlier from 65 I think, or 66, with Freddie Hubbard, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter and Elvin Jones. Great record actually. I mean, 6 brilliant compositions, great playing. Yeah,
Beautiful melody.
Lovely melody. Up there, my favourite.
Absolutely gorgeous. And actually the beautiful melody meant that I always had to come back with a beautiful melody. And this was, we had a version of this tune in our previous session for anyone who watched. And it took us back actually to sessions we used to have back in London when I lived in Hackney, and a particular album from the Red Hot and Cool series called Stolen Moments. And here is the actual album itself, the Oliver Nelson Sextet, The Blues and the Abstract Truth. Fabulous album, fantastic tune, Stolen Moments, with Oliver Nelson on the sax, Eric Dolphy did a lovely flute solo on this, Freddie Hubbard on trumpet, Bill Evans on piano, Paul Chambers on the bass, Roy Haynes on the drums. Really fabulous album, and seemed to flow very nicely from the Wayne Shorter.
Absolutely, especially with Freddie on great form. Staying with the kind of 60s big band sound, then as you probably know from previous VCs, I really like Duke Pearson, and this is from Now Hear This, which was I think his second, either his last but sort of second to last album for Blue Note. He died very young as well. Played the track Tones for Jones Bones, which is written by Chick Corea. Great tune. Usual kind of lineup actually for him, with Bob Cranshaw and Mickey Roper on bass and drums, Pepper Adams. Must have been a very young Randy Brecker on here as well. Very, very nice album. It's quite easy to pick up, and really good version of the Chick Corea tune as well. Duke Pearson.
Very unusual Blue Note cover.
Very unusual Blue Note cover, yeah.
I guess something about the sort of larger ensemble thing got me playing a track from, well, in fact we listened to 2 tracks from Gil Evans' Priestess album, which was from 1977. John immediately spotted it was Gil Evans because he could hear the tuba. We actually, I thought when we were listening to Orange Was the Colour of Her Dress, then Silk Blue, which we did listen to eventually, but first of all we listened to something called Lunar Eclipse by Masabumi Kikuchi, which sounded fantastic. And yeah, John was noting not a lot of the Gil Evans 70s records don't necessarily sound that well produced, but this one, fantastic. And actually a purchase from a record shop that I've just discovered in North London called Audio Gold, which also specialises in second-hand hi-fi. Great players on this, and very stunning combination of David Sanborn and Arthur Blythe, both on alto sax. George Adams on tenor sax. Love this picture of Gil with an umbrella in the sky there. Yeah, sounded great.
So from big ensembles went to a kind of minimalist kind of ensemble, and there is a connection here which I hadn't realised, of course, which is Julius Hempel was one of the people who taught David Sanborn and Tim Byrne. So played the track Dogon AD off the album called Dogon AD by Julius Hempel, and this is a complete classic as far as I'm concerned. I love this record. Very stripped down band with Philip Wilson on drums, who was in an early version of the art ensemble, kind of thudding really rather than playing drums, very minimalist. Yeah. Abdul Wadu on cello, Bakaida Carroll, who's a big influence on Dave Douglas, who we played at the last session, and Julius Hempel on alto. This is kind of very hard to describe. It's like almost like a disembodied kind of funk thing going on, really, but absolutely
sort of. Well, there's no bass, so there's a sort of repetitive cello bass line, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And a kind of reverse breakbeat.
Yeah, it is.
With very free playing over
very
the top.
free playing over the top of it. This album is, I don't know if there are Tim Byrne fans out there, but this was Tim Byrne's favourite ever record, and a big influence on that whole kind of New York style of playing. But Julius Hempel was part of the black artist group from St. Louis, which was another kind of one of the collectives in the 70s. Great record on Arista, in fact.
Gigi, just come and say hi.
No.
Okay. So there was a little interview as my daughter appeared there on the way to the coffee shop. Anyway, yeah. So there was something about actually hearing the cello, and also something that it was very uncategorizable, and just sounded very different in the sort of jazz field, which made me think about this album, which is Richard Davis with Understanding. I've got a feeling that possibly Jonas showed this a while back. I'm not sure. This was an album when I moved house. About 6 weeks after I moved, suddenly this album turned up, and it had been at the old address, and I actually couldn't remember buying it or why I bought it. Anyway, it was a lovely surprise. And features two bass players, Richard Davis and Bill Lee, Spike's dad, on the other bass, Chick Corea on the piano, Frankie Dunlop on percussion, Sonny Brown on drums, and basically Richard Davis playing kind of arco bass, so kind of bowing the bass pretty much the whole time, but with another upright bass player holding down the bass lines. And yeah, again, very, very hard to categorize. We listened to a track called Oh My God, which was apparently inspired by Eric Dolphy, and it was Eric Dolphy who suggested to Richard Davis that he started to bow the bass. And yeah, very intense, very kind of passionate. The thing was the passion in both the last tracks.
Yeah, I think that's the Julius Hempel as well. Yeah.
And actually, this on the back they sort of describe this particular track as a modern day spiritual, which kind of again there was a sort of feeling of that with the previous album. So yeah, I think at this stage we thought, blimey, we need to go and have some sheep's cheese.
No, we didn't quite, because we had one.
Oh,
more.
we didn't. We had one more. Okay.
We had one more before the sheep's cheese was Booker Irving. With his very underrated Booker Irving, who of course played with Mingus and played alongside Mingus alongside Dolphy with Mingus. And this is a great band with Richard Davis again on bass, Jackie Byard on piano, and Alan Dawson, who was more known as a drum teacher than a drummer. He taught Tony Williams and Harvey Mason, among others. So no slouch on the teaching front. And this is they 4 albums on Prestige. The Space Book, I think there's the Blues Book, and I think there's the Song Book and the Freedom Book. All fantastic record, kind of hard bop moving into modal kind of territory. All very long tracks. Played a track called Number 2. With some great rhythm section playing from Jackie Byard, Richard Davis and Alan Dawson. If you can pick up any of the 4 records on Prestige, they're all great. This was actually re-released on a folk label in the UK at the time. It came out on Transatlantic, more known for Pentangle, I think, people like that. Great. Anyway, the four really good records on Booker Irvin's a tenor player, I should say as well.
So we've got quite out there by this stage in the session, and we always normally at least a couple of breaks over the sort of 4+ hours of record spinning. So we came back with something completely different. The Jacksons, the album Triumph, and the track Can You Feel It, which just has a real kind of everything but the kitchen sink sort of production, strings, horns, sound effects, great guitar solo in there, great song, Michael Jackson sounding amazing. So this is an album that you can pick up very cheaply and often gets overlooked, but actually it was Heartbreak Hotel. Was it Heartbreak Hotel?
Heartbreak Hotel.
It was Heartbreak Hotel we listened to, yeah. Fantastic tune.
And nothing better to follow the Jacksons than the Jacksons, really. So I had one in the box, and played. This is off the album before. I think it's before, wasn't it?
It is, yeah.
Off Destiny, and played the track "Shake Your Body Down to the Ground," which is a very long, very long breakdown in this track as well.
Amazing outro.
Fantastic bass synths, great drumming.
Yeah.
Really under. I think it's largely because Michael Jackson became such a huge solo star after. People forget about the Jacksons' albums actually, but good stuff anyway.
I was reminiscing that I actually saw the Jacksons at this exactly sort of. This was what
77, 8, I think.
78? Yeah, at the Rainbow in Finsbury Park, as a teenager. Somehow managed to get a free ticket. I was right up on the side of the stage.
Yeah.
I completely had my mind blown by seeing MJ in full effect.
Yeah.
So
The Ed Green drum track of this is pretty famous actually. There's lots of tutorials on YouTube for drummers. Yeah, trying to get it right. I think actually there's a little hi-hat thing going on there.
Yeah. So we'd hit a different gear here. And I guess it was sort of the sort of big production sound was making me think about another maestro, and this is actually Love Unlimited, which is the one of the many manifestations of Barry Wyatt with the 3 female singers here. Huge production, the track Under the Influence of Love. Again, Barry Wyatt music is very easy to pick up for very little money, and I think will surprise people.
Much harder to play than
Yes.
it's great. A lot of complexity in this movie.
A lot of complexity. Very. Yeah, I mean, I think in a way, sort of somehow took over a bit from Norman Whitfield with his sort of arrangements. But yeah, very nice album. Again, picked this up very cheap recently.
So talking of Norman Whitfield, then played a track off the album with probably the worst cover in the world. Absolutely terrible. Solid Rock's Temptations. I mean, I always think it's amazing. They must cost a fortune to make these records because they're such big bands and they put such horrible covers on them. And played their version, Temptations' version of Ain't No Sunshine off here, which is very moody. This is a great all-round Norman Whitfield album. And this is what, I can't remember her name actually, you commented on the last video.
Was it Linda?
Linda, yeah, Linda was saying that she really likes the long Temptations jams. And this is for Linda.
Great example, that one.
Great example, actually. Yeah. So this has also got a very long version of Stop the War on it as well, which was done by Edwin Starr, I think. As well.
And this is when you actually began to sort of see who was playing on the albums.
Yeah, and the kind of usual lineup of Jameson and Earl Van Dyke and all those people. Wah Watson. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, all the Temptations albums produced by Norman Whitfield are worth getting.
Always.
They've all got two or three great
good.
tracks on them.
Here's another album with a really poor cover from Motown. They generally, it does look as sort of faded as this. Again, this is every time you look in a second-hand record shop, you see this album. I think I picked this one up for about 50p. It's the Diana Ross Touch Me in the Morning. And actually, it's a great album. It's a great album just to sort of relax to. Lovely string arrangements, actually from Gene Page, who carrying on with the Barry White connection. But in fact, we listened to a medley called of Brown Baby and Save the Children from the Marvin What's Going On album. Really nice grooving stuff. We reckoned with probably Bob Babbitt on the bass rather than Jameson. But yeah, I mean, certainly worth picking up. You'll find it very cheap. And nice vocal stylings from the lady herself.
Definitely. And we're going downhill even more on covers now. We can't keep getting worse and worse, actually. Now go for Michael Henderson's track off In the Nighttime. I think I've shown Michael Henderson before, actually. I mean, these albums are really, you can get them for like 50 pence or 50 cents, basically. All got 2 or 3 fantastic tracks on them, actually, from the 70s. And this is played the track Whisper in My Ear off here. Great singer, great bass playing, great production, actually. I mean, really good, solid. I mean, if you like that kind of mid to late 70s soul sound with great playing, this is great singing. This is the place to go, really. So yeah, Michael Henderson showing his very, very hairy chest on the cover. Grim cover, good record though.
And then, for me, I guess the track that I've been humming to the day after, from the Don Blackman album, which was just called Don Blackman, which is an absolute classic. If anyone doesn't have this album, massively recommended in terms of sophisticated, beautifully executed and played grooving music, really. We listened to the track Since You've Been Away So Long. This was inspired because for you bass heads out there, you probably know about someone called Mono Neon, who has a YouTube channel which is basically him just posting up videos of him playing the bass, either to existing tracks or kind of strange clips from YouTube where he kind of plays along with the phonetics of the way people talk. He's an astonishing young bass player who was playing with Prince just before Prince died. There's some fantastic bass playing from Barry Johnson on here, and of course Dennis Chambers on drums, and some lovely scatting and just, I mean, there's so many good tunes on this album. An absolute essential, I would say. I
always put it in the kind of same category with Nard by Bernard Wright, and also Tom Brown's Brown Sugar as well, with kind of they feel like they've all got the same kind of vibes. And then
there's a kind of couple of Bobby Broom albums as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Jamaica Boys.
That's right. GLP.
Yeah.
Another thing inspired by watching a YouTube clip and wondering what the hell a particular tune was. It kept driving me around the back. There was a clip by Chris Dave, the drummer Chris Dave, fantastic drummer, playing with Pino Palladino and other people, and they were doing and basically using the groove from Slum Village's Conant Gardens, which is a great track which we played at the last. We played a different track off the album at the last. But then on top of it, there was another theme being played, and I just couldn't remember what it was. And then suddenly, somebody in the comments suddenly said, "I know what that is. It's Mike Stern's Upside Down or Blood Mood Swings." From I think it was a first or second Mike Stern album. Mike Stern, obviously, kind of fusion guitarist, played with Miles and so forth. But this track has Jaco Pastorius and Steve Jordan on drums. Anyway, it's a great tune. Horrible recording. It's actually very trebly, kind of 70s recording. But
80s recording.
80s recording, yeah. But anyway, great tune. And it's very interesting that Chris Dave was sticking this on top of a hip hop track.
Amazing
And
head.
making absolute sense of it as well.
Yeah.
So check out the video. And
Very bad cover.
Very bad cover.
One of the worst, actually.
Yeah. We've had some bad covers today.
But we saw Mike Stern and Bob Berg playing together.
Yeah.
With Dennis Chambers, which was
And Jeff Andrews on bass. Yeah.
Jeff Andrews on bass, which was pretty stellar.
Yeah.
Back in the
I seem to remember
late
the
80s.
monstrous Dennis Chambers drum solo.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, just it was almost like being in a kind of boxing match with just sort of the audience baying for
Yeah.
different soloists. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Anyway, with the same rhythm section, we played a track from this CD, which has come out fairly recently, Marcus Strickland's Twilife, Nihil Novi, produced by Michel and Cello. It's definitely a big staple of our sessions. Chris Dave and Pino Palladino on the drums and the bass. We listened to a tune called Cycle, which is just basically a fantastic groove. Nice album. It's got some really nice vocals, some nice songs, as well as some great grooves and some playing, and production's excellent. Yeah, I mean, actually, a lot to recommend there. I don't think it's out on vinyl, but CD is not very pricey.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's on Blue Note.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff coming out on Blue Note.
Yeah.
Went from that to something that came out in the late 70s, another CD, which was, and I picked this up as a promo copy of it. I heard it on, I think, on Jake Feinberg's radio show, and it's called East Bay Rhythm, and it's basically the Headhunters, effectively. It's kind of, it's without Herbie, the late version of Headhunters. It's, Paul Jackson, James Levi on drums, and Bill Summers, and so forth. And it's a kind of, crosses over from Headhunter style stuff into almost kind of Kool and the Gang kind of style stuff on this record, and it's called A Little Love Will Help, and it's quite nice actually. Very prominent Paul Jackson again from those states.
Instantly recognisable.
Very instantly recognisable, yeah. And it came out. I think it came out on vinyl, but it disappeared on vinyl and on CD, and I just managed to pick up this promo for £2.
Another recent find, actually, I think also from this record shop in Crouch End called Audio Gold. This is another bass player, Alfonso Johnson. The album's called Yesterday's Dreams, and came out in the sort of 1976. This was kind of an interesting period where jazz rock was sort of becoming jazz funk, sort of slightly heading into slightly disco-y tinge. Amazing set of players on this album. Obviously you've got Alfonso, you've got Ray Gomez on guitar, Grover Washington, Patrice Rushen, an amazing keyboard solo on here. You've got Mike Clark on drums, Chester Thompson on drums, so some Headhunters connections. Very funky, great bass playing. Again, an album you can probably pick up quite cheap. Very underrated bass player.
Then, with some overlap in lineup, certainly with Chester Thompson and others, went for Frank Zappa again. We had him in the last session as well. One size fits all, and this is the I think I've got about 4 versions of this album. This is a kind of recent-ish remaster by Bernie Grundman and so forth. Sounded absolutely incredible.
Really good.
I mean, they've done a great job remastering it, actually. And I think it's a shame that there's more not coming in the series, because as people know, the whole Frank Zappa estate's in a state of family feud at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. But this is probably overall the best, for me, the best Frank Zappa album, with George Duke and with Tom Fowler and with Chester Thompson and Ruth Underwood and so forth as well. And played Inca Roads, which features George on vocals. But I have to say, the sound on this sounded like it was
really amazing,
jumping right out of the speakers.
Feels as though we're getting a bit.
We're getting a lot of chanting.
Got a lot of chanting going on.
So this was I think it was a remaster from a couple of years ago, but definitely worth getting.
It's definitely going on my wants list.
Yeah.
Also, this album sounded fantastic. I think Ben Costello has been raving about this album recently. It's Robert Wyatt's album Sleep from the late 90s. Somehow, Wyatt just fits neatly after Zappa. I think there's something about the complete, authentic kind of innovation of both artists that it just makes sense. And we listened to the track called Marianne, which was co-written with Philippe Catherine. Beautiful, again, actually lovely production on this.
Yeah.
I think produced at Phil Manzanera's studio.
Excellent.
Very nice sound. Yeah, if you can find this, well worth picking up, CD or the vinyl, but the vinyl sounds very good. Still kind of working my way through it, but there's so much richness and variety in a Robert Wyatt album, and so many great collaborators actually.
Then went for I think must have been getting into a kind of unique kind of character.
Yes.
And I played a track on my original but disintegrating copy of Clear Spot by Captain Beefheart. Unfortunately, the cover just seems to, I think it's just aging, and just falling to bits. And played a track off Her Eyes Are Blue Million Miles. And this was kind of his most kind of straight record, really. This and Spotlight Kid, really, produced by Ted Templeman, who's much more of a mainstream R&B producer at the time. Anyway, Clear Spot, all Zappa albums are classics, really. All Beefheart albums are classics, really. So yeah.
So just a single piece of card?
Yeah, it's a piece of card. It came out as a piece of card inside this plastic sleeve, which has got embossed kind of Clear Spot on it as well.
Oh, I
But
see.
it's just disintegrated, I think.
It is.
Yeah, over the years, much use.
Well, I think, keeping the flavour of great individual artists. I think possibly this might have been inspired by Fred Big Star 1000.
In fact, this was inspired by Fred as well.
Oh,
actually.
well,
So
a double
I
Fred
think
inspiration.
Fred showed a copy of this club recently.
Fred is definitely powering the VC at the moment with his videos, and I can't remember if this was in his 1970 best of top 10, give me 10. But anyway, it was mentioned, and I just happened to chance upon it in the market in Faversham a week or so ago. It's the Plastic Ono Band album. The John Lennon one, because there's two versions that look almost identical. One which is the Yoko Ono lead, and I just never got this album before. I never had it. I've sort of got various tracks, but it is a fantastic album and so kind of minimal and intense and simple, but great, strong, powerful songs. And was it the track God we listened to?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Anyway, fantastic. Absolute must-have if people don't have them.
I think then we went. I can't remember what the connection was actually. I think it was just the lyrics of the John Lennon were a lot about
That's
denying
Yes.
everything. Then went from John Lennon to David Bowie.
Yeah.
And went to Ashes to Ashes. Don't really need to say much about that track. I'm sure everybody knows the track. But anyway, great album. Scary Monsters, I think, one of my favourites. Yeah, Bowie, what can you say? Really, still miss him.
Still miss him and don't need to see him in a prom.
No, there was a dreadful, terribly self-indulgent prom in the UK based on Bowie, which was just appalling, actually. Which I gave up on after about 10 minutes. I think Mark lasted
I
slightly
did
longer.
last through to the end, but it wasn't. It definitely got worse. Although I have to say Anna Calvi was good, but apart from
It
that,
seemed to be a lot more about the people who were doing the dedicating rather than Bowie. really, to me.
yes, I think you're right. But another Bowie track from the next day. Sort of been revisiting this recently, and Valentine's Day, short, very sweet, classic tune. Sounded great.
Then we had a little mini break, I think, after then.
Yeah.
And then had just moved into the final section and went for a track off a Richie Bearach album on ECM called Elm, which is a beautiful record, actually. George Mraz and Jack DeJohnette played the track Sea Priestess of this. Kind of, I have a particular kind of fondness, really, for the 70s sound on ECM. I just think their recordings around that time sounded amazing, actually. kind of before they went digital, of course, actually. So yeah, so Richie Berwick, who played a lot with Dave Liebman, very nice pianist. Yeah, classic ECM style.
Then we had the Ahmed Jamel, The Awakening album. We had a track from Ahmed Jamel last session, but off a kind of compilation, which I then actually purchased mid-session. So expensive to find this album on vinyl. This is a beautiful album, absolutely lovely. So last time we listened to his version of Stolen Moments, this time we listened to Wave. So kind of bringing our Hobim connection back to the beginning again. Beautiful version, fantastic album.
They did a very nice job remastering those on those. It sounded good actually on the CDs. Then my last track was from back to Blue Note, back to where we started actually for me. Was from one of the Grant Green albums. A few sessions ago played Idle Moments, and this one played a track off Street of Dreams called Lazy Afternoon. And this is a band based on trio of Grant Green, Larry Young and Elvin Jones, who did a lot of stuff under Larry Young as well as under Grant Green. Much more fiery albums than this one. And on this one they're joined by Bobby Hutcherson, so you've got a very interesting, strange lineup really of guitar, vibes, organ and drums. It's got a very kind of aptly named Street of Dreams actually. It's got a very dreamy kind of feel to it, this record. Big fan of Grant Green. Actually, I've become a big fan of Grant Green actually recently. But check out this and also all the albums under Larry Young's name with Grant Green and Elvin Jones. Really good stuff.
And then we ended the session with a lovely quality pressing of the very first Nina Simone album called Little Girl Blue. Nice, big, thick hard vinyl. Not cheap, but a beautiful,
It sounds amazing.
beautiful audiophile pressing of this. And we listened to Plain Gold Ring, which seemed to end the session very nicely. Jimmy Bond on bass, Albert Tootie Heath on drums, and Nina Simone on piano and vocals. Really beautiful simplicity, very kind of incredible to hear the experience in her voice, given how young she was at the time. There
Great
we go.
album.
And then we went and watched Mo Farah win a gold medal,
Yeah, which was great.
which was very good actually.
Yeah.
So there we go, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you to all the new subscribers.
Yeah, that's
seem
really
to be
good.
reaching lots of people. Lovely to hear comments and stuff. And we'll see you soon.
Have a good summer or winter, depending on which
Yes.
half of the world you're in. See you later.